In a world divided by power, money, and control, a broken bar single handshake can shake the foundations of global politics. On a quiet morning in Moscow, Burkina Faso's young revolutionary leader Captain Ibrahim Traoré copyright extended his hand to the world's most strategic player Vladimir Putin. That handshake, a broken bar, lasted only a few seconds, but within 47 minutes, the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, a broken bar went into crisis mode. Why? Because that simple gesture wasn't just friendship, it was defiance. It was the moment Africa stood up and said, we will no longer be slaves of the West. Scene 1, the handshake that shook the world. Scene, Kremlin meeting room, a soft orchestral music playing. Narrator, on a chilly morning in Moscow, President Putin welcomed a special guest at a man Western media called Africa's most dangerous revolutionary. Ibrahim Traoré copyright, the 36-year-old soldier who overthrew a Western-backed government in Burkina Faso, walked confidently into the Kremlin. As cameras clicked and journalists whispered, Traoré copyright eyes met Putin's. Both men smiled slightly, a broken bar, and then came the handshake. Sound effect. Click, a camera flash. Background murmurs fade out. Narrator, it was more than a handshake. It was a declaration that Africa was aligning itself with the new world order, a broken bar away from the control of Washington, Paris, and London. In that moment, Traoré copyright wasn't just representing Burkina Faso. He was representing a rising Africa, one tired of centuries of exploitation, debt traps, and puppet leaders. Scene 2, the CIA's reaction. Scene, CIA headquarters, Langley, alarms beep, lights dim. Narrator, exactly 47 minutes later, inside the CIA's Situation Room, alarms were raised. An urgent report came in from the Africa desk. Greater than Traoré copyright just sealed a strategic cooperation agreement with Russia, including arms, energy, and security support. A senior CIA officer slammed his coffee mug down. Greater than, we can't let this kid unite Africa under Russia's shadow. This is a direct threat to our control. Another officer replied quietly, greater than, then we need to neutralize him, a broken bar before it's too late. Sound effect. Heartbeat intensifies. Narrator, the plan had begun. Code name, Operation Scorpion Shadow, a covert mission designed to eliminate Traoré copyright without leaving American fingerprints. Scene 3, Why Traoré is a threat. Narrator, to understand why the CIA saw him as a danger, we must go back to the beginning. In 2022, Burkina Faso was drowning in chaos, terrorism, poverty, and corruption controlled by French-backed elites. But then, a young soldier, Ibrahim Traoré copyright rose from the ranks. He didn't come from privilege. He came from the streets of Ouagadougou, from a family that knew hunger and hardship. When he took power, he didn't go begging to the IMF or World Bank. He said something no African leader had dared to say in decades, greater than, we will no longer depend on our former colonizers. Africa will build its own destiny. That single sentence made Paris furious, Washington anxious, and the CIA very interested. Scene 4, the rise of a new alliance. Narrator, after cutting ties with France, Traoré copyright began building new alliances, not with the West, but with Russia, China, and Mali. He joined hands with Putin's Africa strategy, which focused on training African forces, building gold-based trade, and rejecting the US dollar system. When Traoré copyright met Putin, they discussed a joint African security blockade independent from NATO or the UN. That's when Western intelligence knew, greater than, if this alliance grows, the dollar's power in Africa will crumble. And that's why, just minutes after their handshake, the CIA's plan to remove Traoré copyright was activated. Scene 5, CIA briefing, Operation Scorpion Shadow. Scene, dark conference room, Langley HQ. A senior CIA officer stands before a holographic map of Africa. Traoré copyright's face glows red on the screen. Greater than, he's becoming Africa's Che Guevara. If he unites Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso under Russian influence, the West loses control of sales gold, uranium, and oil. Another analyst adds, greater than local mercenaries are available. We can use a false flag terrorist attack and make it look like extremists did it. The director nods slowly. Greater than we need plausible deniability. Use the same playbook as before. Narrator, within hours, agents were on the ground in West Africa disguised as journalists, aid workers, and businessmen. Their mission: get close to Traoré till the copyright, sabotage his inner circle, and prepare for a clean removal. Scene 6, inside Traoré's mind. Narrator, but Ibrahim Traoré till the copyright was not an ordinary leader. He knew what happened to Muammar Gaddafi, Thomas Sankara, and Patrice Lumumba, all of whom challenged Western control of Broken Bar and paid the ultimate price. In a private meeting with his generals, Traoré till the copyright said, greater than they will try to kill me, but I am not afraid of death. What I fear is leaving Africa in chains. He increased security, replaced French-trained officers with loyal nationalists, and strengthened ties with Russian intelligence. Little did he know a Broken Bar CIA satellite was watching his every move. Scene 7, Russian warning. Scene, nighttime, Ouagadougou Presidential Palace. A secure encrypted call comes through. On the other side, a Russian GRU officer, codename Volkov. Greater than Captain Traoré till the copyright, you must be careful. We intercepted chatter. Americans are planning something. Do not attend public events for the next few days. Traoré till the copyright, greater than thank you, brother. But Africa has been silent too long. If they want war, we are ready. Narrator, he wasn't bluffing. Within hours, Russian security advisors arrived in Burkina Faso, reinforcing the Presidential Guard and securing the communication networks. Scene 8, CIA's first attempt fails. Narrator, the first CIA plot was subtly poison delivered through a trusted local diplomat, but thanks to Russian counterintelligence, the attempt failed before it began. The agent was caught, interrogated, and quietly deported. His confession revealed the ugly truth. Greater than Washington cannot allow Traoré till the copyright to become the African Putin. The message spread across the continent like wildfire. Millions of Africans flooded social media with one voice. We stand with Traoré till the copyright. Scene 9, the global media war. Narrator, when the assassination failed, the West launched its next weapon, media propaganda. Major networks suddenly began labeling Traoré till the copyright as a dictator, populist, and Russian puppet. But African youth weren't buying it. They saw through the lies. For them, Traoré till the copyright was not just a president, he was a symbol of resistance. Across Mali, Niger, and Chad, people carried his posters through the streets, chanting, greater than down with colonialism. Long live African unity. Scene 10, the secret meeting in Bamako. Narrator, weeks later, in Bamako, Traoré till the copyright met with leaders from Mali and Niger. Together, they signed a defense pact called the Alliance of Sahel States. Their goal: joint military protection, economic cooperation, gold-backed trade currency to replace the CFA franc. This was the final straw for the CIA. Washington saw the alliance as a direct economic threat to the dollar-based global system. Scene 11, CIA escalates the second plan. Scene, CIA Operations Center. A new strategy is proposed: a drone strike, covert sabotage, or internal betrayal. Greater than we'll use regional proxies, said one analyst. No U.S. involvement, only deniable assets. Narrator, funding was quietly redirected to certain African warlords and local militias. Fake news campaigns spread rumors of a coup attempt within Burkina Faso. But Traoré till the copyright stayed one step ahead. He had built a powerful network of intelligence officers loyal only to him and to Africa. Scene 12, the African awakening. Narrator, as the pressure increased, something unexpected happened. A wave of awakening swept across Africa. From Ghana to Congo, from Senegal to Sudan, young people began wearing t-shirts that said, greater than we are ultra till the copyright. He became more than a man, he became a movement, a symbol of courage against centuries of Western domination. Even leaders in other countries quietly began questioning their alliances. If Burkina Faso could resist, maybe they could too. Scene 13, Putin's message. Scene, Kremlin. Putin addresses media. Putin, Greater than Russia supports any nation that seeks true independence. Africa must decide its own future. Narrator: The handshake between Traoré copyright and Putin had now become a global symbol of defiance. It was no longer just about one country, it was about a continental revolution. But in Washington, a broken bar, the rage only grew stronger. Scene 14, CIA internal crisis. Narrator: As the world's attention turned to Africa, some CIA officers began questioning the mission itself. Greater than Sir, if we assassinate him, it could spark a continent-wide rebellion. We can't risk turning him into a martyr. But the response from above was cold. Greater than we've handled this before. Lumumba, Sankara, Gaddafi. History repeats. However, the new Africa was not the old one. Social media had changed everything. The world was watching, and so was Moscow. Scene 15. The failed assassination. Scene, military convoy. Night, stormy weather. Narrator: The final attempt was made during a secret convoy route outside Ouagadougou. Unknown to the CIA, Russian drones were monitoring the entire zone. When armed men tried to ambush the convoy, Traoré copyright's security responded within seconds. The attackers were neutralized, several captured alive. Their equipment, weapons, and communication devices all traced back to foreign contractors linked to the CIA's African front operations. Within hours, the evidence reached Moscow. Putin ordered immediate protection for Traoré copyright and a diplomatic warning to Washington. Scene 16, aftermath. The world reacts. Narrator: News spread fast. Across Africa, people cheered. Greater than they tried to kill him, but God saved him. In Washington, silence. No official statement, no denial. But the message was clear: the CIA had failed. Burkina Faso announced new military partnerships with Russia and Iran, expanding their independence even further. Scene 17, a new chapter for Africa. Narrator: Today, that single handshake between Ibrahim Traoré copyright and Vladimir Putin continues to echo around the world. It represents something the West fears most: a world where Africa controls its own destiny, its own resources, and its own voice. The CIA's plan to silence him only made him stronger. And now, millions across the continent look to him as proof that true independence is possible. Scene 18, Epilogue. Narrator: History will remember this story not for the assassination that failed, but for the revolution that began. Because sometimes, the most powerful weapon on a broken bar is not a gun, a bomb, or a drone.